Hello, everybody, and thanks for watching or listening. My name is Tom. This is the Ketogenic Fasting Project. Today, I'm talking about exercise. I know a few people have asked if I had any thing to add to the conversation about exercise, and naturally, I have some thoughts on it. So here we go. Now, first of all, I want to say that I'm pretty sure that diet is more important than exercise. I think we all kind of were, or not everybody, but most of us were kind of under the impression that if you wanted to lose weight, if you wanted to lose body fat, you have to burn it off by exercising. You have to increase your activity above and beyond what you're doing because that's why you're overweight. You're just not burning enough, right? But I think that that impression's been very skewed. I think that diet is far more powerful than exercise, but exercise is valuable. And I think a lot of people out there just change their diet and go to a healthier weight without exercising. It's not that it doesn't happen, but clearly, on a basic level, if you just increase your circulation, get your blood flow going, that in itself can be good. Obviously, if you're just sitting on the couch or laying in bed or whatever, sitting behind a computer all day, and you don't really get any exercise, and that's going to be a problem. But you don't necessarily have to kill yourself at the gym to get to lose some inches or to be healthier. So, anyways, I'll get into talking about what I did because I know a lot of people they change their diet and they feel better and they want to do things. So you kind of got to figure out what you want to do. And I think obviously the thing to do is to start with the stuff you enjoy. But let me just throw this out there. This is some of the benefits. I know a lot of people have been doing photos, showing their progress. Um, I'll do that eventually. I have had some pictures taken over time, but this right here, you can see all the lines in this belt from where I started until now. Those are inches. I'm all the way down in this last notch here. And I do have a tool somewhere for punching a hole in the leather. So it's just about that time to add another hole. That's one belt. It's a nice belt I got for a gift right before I started. So there's another belt I've had for a long time. You could see the same evidence on it. So I did exercise. I think that the exercise definitely helped, but I think most people could accomplish quite a bit just by changing their diet up. So, and there's a lot of strategies, the stuff I've tried isn't everything, you might, you might want to get a coach. Sorry about the noise. Try to roll these up. You might want to get a coach, somebody who's into like bodybuilding. There's guys, if you listen to the HBO podcast, you've heard of guys like Stan Efferding and John Anderson. And those guys, are really fit, really big, muscular guys. But really, I think that they're in the business of helping all kinds of people. So just people who want to lose body fat or whatever, you don't necessarily have to be a monster. And I'm sure there's lots of other people. I'm sure there's some good trainers out there. In fact, I like to recommend that book by Vinny Tortorich called Fitness Confidential. It's a funny book, and he talks a lot about trainers and how to find a good trainer. So I haven't really gotten into getting a trainer or anything like that. I might do that. I might, I might, I might see if I can afford somebody like John Anderson because I think a lot of times these guys aren't that expensive. Maybe even Sean Baker, Dr. Baker, he might even do it. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll message him and ask him if he does that. So, anyways, as you can see, I lost quite a few inches around the waist. Obviously, that makes it easier to exercise. when I first went back to the gym recently, I needed a weightlifting belt. Well, I wanted a weightlifting belt because I like to do things like squats. And I had a hard time finding this monster. This is a big, big belt. But it's already too loose. I had to go get a new one. So one of the places I like to shop is a local shop. In fact, I was in there today, and he was grabbing some sound bites from a nice mention that he got on I think it was Kevin and Bean or something like that. I see all my spots from all my psoriasis. Still have red spots where the lesions were. So some of them are bug bites, but anyways, I bought a new belt today, size smaller, the new luck. And, a few months, whatever, 6 months, maybe a year, I'll be shopping for a smaller one. You see, still got the tag on it because I just bought it this morning. But I like to shop. I think a lot of people like to shop at a local store if they can, especially like an independent store rather than just going to a chain store, buying everything on Amazon. Sometimes eBay's great. In fact, I got that other belt on eBay because nobody stocked a belt big enough for my waist, or they were all out when I went to find them. Actually, the shop I went to today, it's called Mike's Fitness Supply in Riverside. They're in the middle of moving to a new location like a mile away, but they're still open every day, and they are very helpful there. I'm guessing it's Mike, the owner, that I talked to when I go in there. Yeah, they always remember you, and they know the equipment really well, and they have good prices. And I know he's talking about setting up, delivering and setting up Smith machines for people. So you need something like that. They sell weights, and in fact, I bought a lot of weights from them. I even got some secondhand ones there one time. He doesn't normally have secondhand weights, but just happened to be in there one day and he had a few, and I bought some of them. But I've gotten some really good tips from him. And let me say, probably one of the best pieces of fitness equipment I have is this. This is a dog leash. I did another video with one of my dogs, but you think about it. If you have a dog, it's your pet, and you got to do your best to take care of them. And dogs tend to be rangy animals. They're dogs in the wild. They walk around all day. So they walk around, and they like to walk in packs typically and stuff like that. We have coyotes around here. In fact, coyote just ate somebody's cat in my front yard. So one of my neighbors lost their poor cat to a coyote just it's about 3 days ago. So, if you got a dog, or maybe maybe your neighbor has a dog, and you could take the dog for a walk. I walk the dogs all the time, or not all the time, but I walk them a lot. Sometimes I make it 7 days a week. I put my headphones in, and in fact, I got my headphones right here. I could talk more about equipment. I know a lot of people like myself. These headphones are actually plugged in charging right now. Here we go. These are Pioneer Ironmans. So they have a little clip that you clip onto your shirt or whatever. And they're Bluetooth, And you put them in, and you sync them up with your phone. And then you can listen to a podcast. You can listen to Sean and Zach, or Bart, or Brett, or any of those people, maybe Nevada Gray or Chris Donahue, Phil Ascott, a lot of our favorite people. You can listen to them while you walk the dogs. I walk at night. I used to have a real aversion to sunlight. As you can see, I'm out in the sun. I'm pretty tan now. So, but I like it when I work during the day too. So, walking at night, and my dog, especially Stumpy, he's pretty old. He overheats really fast. So he can definitely walk more in the evening when it's cooler. Of course, right now it was well over 100 today, and I'm sure it's still pretty hot outside, and it's been uncommonly humid for where I live. But yeah, see, it's almost 8 o'clock at night, and it's still 89 degrees. I don't know what the humidity is, but that's kind of hard on the dogs. They pant a lot, but most of the year it's no big deal. And of course, the exercise is good for them. That it's good for you. It, gives you some time to bond with your pets. So see your neighborhood. But sometimes walking the dogs is boring. So I made up an activity to do while I'm walking, because I wanted to jog and I wanted to skip rope, and I found out real quick my feet still weren't up to it. Though I'll get to my feet later, because there's been a lot of progress with my feet. My feet have been a problem since I was a child. But having an older dog that doesn't walk very fast, well, I had two older dogs that walked very slow. One was very small, and unfortunately, we had to put Mr. Snuggles down. That was my mother's dog. My mother passed away, and I inherited him. And he was a very, very small dog, so he did not walk very fast. And now Stumpy, who's a bigger dog, and he's actually got long legs and used to be very fast, he is now very slow. He's kind of on his last days, so he's somewhere between 17 and 20 years old now, and he's just hanging on. So he still walks, but I take him on a short walk around the block with Trixie, the younger rat terrier, and then I drop Stumpy off the house, and me and Trixie go walk some more. But it still could be kind of boring. So the activity I came up with was to stop at every light post. We have big concrete marble light overhead luminaires, they call them. And so what I do at each one of those is I stop and I push on it as hard as I can. So it's a little bit of resistance work. So, if you're in, relatively decent condition, you don't have some terrible joint issues or something, I think most people could do that. It's easily one of the things you could do. You could kind of test, don't push too hard, see how it goes, and then work your way up to really, really pushing hard. And, in a given night, of course, a walk quite a distance away and then walk back. So you pass every lamppost just about twice. So you get many, many opportunities to work in a little resistance training while you're just walking your dog. You don't have to be walking fast, right? And then when I get to a signpost, the signposts around here are steel tubes. They're probably 2 inches, maybe 3 inches in diameter. They're like a galvanized steel. So when I get to one of those, I grab it and I try and bend it towards me. So it's like the opposite action of pushing against it. And so it gives me something to do. And again, I walk in the evening. Nobody sees me anyways. And I'm sure if somebody did see me, they think I'm just stretching or something. But again, it's just a way of working in some resistance training, or just working the muscles against a fixed object. It's very similar to weightlifting, and in this case, I'm using sort of a subtle compound movement. So I'm using a lot of joints that are flexing, and it's kind of a whole body thing. If you can imagine using your whole body to pull on something and your whole body to push on something. So as an adaptation to that, these aren't actually my gloves because I misplaced them, but I have a pair almost exactly like this. These gloves are rubber coated. They have a textured rubber on them, and then they're actually woven out of Kevlar, which is a cloth, an aramid cloth. I don't know. A lot of people have probably heard of Kevlar because that's typically what bulletproof vests are made of, body armor, So it's very tough and it's cut resistant. And with these grippy palms, you don't have to worry about your hands slipping off. You don't want to be pushing on a light post and have your hands slip and mash your teeth out or something going face first into it. So a nice grippy surface like this, it also protects your hands. Sometimes you grab, a utility pole or a signpost or something like that, and it can have some coarse galvanizing on it. The steel post would rust really fast in the air, so they have to put a coating on them. So typically they galvanize them, which is usually like a zinc plating. So zinc's a metal, steel is a metal, and steel is made from adding carbon to iron. So they take iron and they add things like carbon to it to make it stronger, but it will rust. It'll turn red, right? And it'll rust away. So they put the zinc on it, and the zinc actually oxidizes easier than the iron or the steel. And the oxidation, or the rusting, as it were, of the zinc is kind of a chalky gray white color on the outside, which actually builds up a protective layer that makes that pole last longer. Well, sometimes it's rough, and if you're grabbing a whole bunch of these and pulling on really hard, you might also find some staples or something like that from a sign that somebody's taped up there. A lot of times people put signs up for lost dogs or yard sales or whatever, and then the city comes along and rips them down, and you never know what kind of stuff is stuck on the pole, So you could wear a simple lightweight glove like this, protects your hands, gives them grip. Maybe your hands aren't real strong. I know I've got a hand that I've had a lot of surgeries on. I don't know if you can really see the scarring, but so I have a little bit of trouble with my left hand. So other people might have had arthritis or some other conditions where their hands aren't very strong. So a glove like this will give you a lot of grip. These are inexpensive. They go anywhere from $5 to $10. I think I've even seen them use these, like it's strong. The World's Strongest Man competition, they use a similar glove for gripping stuff. There's good tactile feedback, but I think the real key here is that it's grippy and it offers you some protection because it's very cut resistant. They do not really keep your hands warm. I was wearing these one night when it was really cold out, and I think my hands were actually colder with these on, but in the summertime, that's nice. Some of these other gloves slid off my little sample tray. So these are some other ones that are grippy on the inside. These are kind of an inexpensive cloth that, again, is coated with like nitrile or something like that to make them a little grippier. They're not quite as grippy as the other ones. They don't have the texture, it's not quite as thick, but you could get inexpensive gloves like this at probably any hardware store or similar places, and you could just use those. So if you got a lot of dogs to wrangle, they help you, keep a grip on that leash when something unexpected happens as well. So I was going to talk about my feet. So when I was a little kid, I had flat feet. I've come to believe that flat feet are actually caused by wearing shoes. So by putting the foot in an appropriate sort of position inside the shoe, the bones are not in the correct place. The muscles get weak because the shoe is doing work that the foot muscles are supposed to do. I thought it was like some sort of birth defect that people were born with, but I'm a little skeptical about that now. I think it's actually the shoes that cause flat-footedness. So my whole life, I've had a lot of foot pain. I used to wear corrective shoes when I was a kid. I now have a really thick foot and a gigantic arch. That's my arch doesn't make any sense for a foot my size. So my feet really aren't that long. They're like a 11 or 12-ish kind of range, but they're really wide and they're really thick. And I think that it has to do more with wearing shoes that didn't fit right. And I'm pretty convinced there is no shoe that fits right. I'm very convinced there's no socks that fit. I've literally ordered hundreds of pairs of socks. It's kind of a joke around my house. It's like I'm always giving away socks as I try. There is no sock that's big enough for my foot. Period. Doesn't matter how long it is. It's never big enough around, and they just drive me crazy. So a couple years ago or so, I got these. These are shoes. They're kind of a minimalist shoe. It's called a Vibram. I don't know if you can see the name right there. I know I've heard people say Vibram. I think Joe Rogan always calls them Vibrams. But this is called a Vibram. I call it a Vibram 5-finger. Can't even. I'm looking at it backwards, so I'm not even sure. Anyways, it's a very thin-soled shoe. It's a very flexible shoe. And really, all this is kind of a rubber skin to protect the bottom of your foot. And I have stepped on glass with this by accident, and the glass did not go through. I was shocked. I heard a piece of glass, a glass shard snap underneath this thing. It was point first into the bottom of the shoe. I just happened to catch it just right, and it lodged into the a crevice in the concrete, and I heard it snap, and I was like, it's like I expected it to go through the shoe because that's normally what happens. And this is a nice thin sole. I put a lot of miles. I actually have 2 pair of these. I have a pair 45 and a pair 46. I cut the little there's an elastic like closure thing to tighten them up. I had to get rid of that because it drove me crazy. I was getting caught on stuff and snapping me in the back of the leg. It's about the 100th time that thing snapped me in the back of the leg. Took some scissors to it. But other than that, I wear these. I don't wear socks in them. Don't be too grossed out because I wash these every couple days. I wash them with soap and water and a nail brush and just turn the heel inside out like so. They get in there, scrub it out, put it up. Next day it's dry. So, like I said, I have a couple pair of them, and they've lasted a long time. I blew the soles off of all kinds of expensive shoes I've ordered, which never fit right. Now, after wearing these primarily for a couple of years, I wear these to the office because nobody really cares what I look like at work. I wear them to the gym. I wear them to walk the dogs. I wear them to the mall. I wear them to the grocery store. I don't care. I do get asked about them. Sometimes the girls think they're cute. But my feet have gotten much stronger. My feet have actually gotten bigger. There's no 2 ways about it. But you know what? My foot pain is almost down to 0. I have a little bit of trouble with heel pain, but it's more like the Achilles tendon than it is the foot itself. I used to have these horrible calluses on my heels that cracked all the time. The calluses have gone away. I don't think it's actually the shoes. I think it's the diet. Because it just recently, when I was on the PKD diet, those calluses started going away. I also had what we call, I had some psoriasis, but there's also this thing called lichen planus. I'm trying to think. I've got kind of a little bit of one left right here, this white dot. It's actually like a blister full of more skin. It's all related to this skin overgrowth thing from psoriasis, as far as I can tell. I don't really know that anybody knows, but for a fact that there's some, is there any sort of study or anything that proves that lichen planus is just caused by psoriasis, or that the thick calluses on the heel are caused by that? I mean, but anybody goes walking around, I see people who are wearing open back shoes, you'll see people with thick cracked calluses on their feet, and it's very painful. And when those cracks get deep enough, they get infected, and then they hurt, and then they cause more pain in the foot. I think they contribute to inflammation in the foot, and all that's gotten much better for me. And I think once this Achilles tendon that's kind of sore is done healing up, I think I'll be able to do some jogging again, maybe some vertical work, maybe some skip some rope. So it was that's probably about all I could say. If you want to read some books that are inspiring, maybe you want to jog, check out You Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. That's a great book, fun book. There's lots of people on YouTube, obviously, you could watch. Some of the other gloves I got for working out, I got these from Mike's Fitness. Might be Mike's. I should have looked it up. I'm sorry, Mike. These are gloves. I originally got these for doing chin-ups, so they're pull-ups. So it's basically a suede flap, but it has this clay bar in it. There's actually soft clay in this striped area here. and it's kind of magical the way it kind of extends your grip around a bar. It gives you just a little extra leverage when you're trying to hold on. This is especially good in the beginning when you're building up your grip strength. Because if you want to do pull-ups or you want to lift weights or whatever, you got to build up some grip strength, right? Especially me, my left hand is a little weaker than my right hand. So um, you're also going to want to, you're going to probably build up some calluses or at least toughen up your hand. I know when I first was trying to do some pull-ups, it felt like the palm of my hand was tearing, and this helps a lot. Now it's still building calluses even when I use these, and I use these both for lifting now, and I use it for doing pull-ups. So this is a great tip that I got from Mike's fitness equipment. I think it's Mike. I should have asked when I was in there today. Like I said, he was talking about somebody else had mentioned it, and I thought, well, I've mentioned you in my videos too. So he also gave me he sold me these gloves too. These are I like because I notice a lot of times when I was lifting and you're really tired, it would take me forever to get some of the gloves off. I kind of have a big hand, and sometimes the gloves are tight. These have a little strap in the wrist too, which is kind of nice, especially when you're getting started out. But the magic of these is these little fins on the back. I think you could see them. There's these little like fin things on the back. So when you go to take them off, you grab those little fins, and it's much easier to get the glove off, especially when you're tired. So I know I get impatient, especially when I'm like exhausted from lifting or something. So that was another good tip that I got from Mike. So anyways, I got a few slides to talk about here, just some ideas that people might want to try. So let me pull up those slides here. Come on, button. Where'd you go? Right there. All right. So you see here, this is a 35-pound plate. This is what I use. I use this on a curl bar. But again, plate like this is not that expensive. I bought this one new from Mike's Fitness Equipment, but you can get them used pretty frequently. I watch like Facebook and Craigslist and stuff like that. Buy stuff here. This is a rubber plated plate here, and this one is a bare cast iron. So this is at the gym. This is like gym quality stuff that commercial quality stuff. You could buy this kind of quality stuff too as well. I just threw this shot in there. So I was doing squats one day. So this is doing the leg press again. You can see these nice commercial plates. They have these big openings. They're easy to open and they're rubber coated. So this is a kettlebell. I don't remember where I got this one. I keep this one at the office, and you notice I wrap the handle with a black cloth tape. You could totally tell it's an office, right? File cabinets and papers everywhere. I generally don't have any gloves at the office, and I'll just get up every once in a while and swing this puppy. This one's pretty heavy for me. It's 53 pounds. So again, having some grip issues and having a hand that's had a bunch of surgeries on it, scar tissue and mended bones and all that stuff. Me putting the tape on the handle makes it easier to lift, and you'll see that I put tape like this on a lot of things. Just makes it easier. I don't have to worry about it slipping out of my hand. This is just another shot of the same kettlebell laying on my desk. I'm not real crazy about this one because the handle is actually so thick and this thing's so heavy. I have a hard time getting both hands in it. So this is actually one of my least favorite. I don't know what brand it is, but it'd probably be better for somebody with smaller hands. Oh, this is also I have a pair of these at the office. These are some rusty cast iron dumbbells. I like these big cast iron octagonal I guess they're hexagonal dumbbells. I like these. I don't mind buying them used and buying them roughed up. Actually, I probably bought this at Mike's. This is probably one of the used ones he had in there. I just rattle canned it yellow because I had a yellow can of paint sitting around for some reason. And again, I wrapped it and added a little. I actually wrapped that with a nylon strap from a truck strap that was kind of shot. I just wrapped it on there and I put the black tape over to fatten it up a little bit. I had arthritis in my hands for a long time, and I'm kind of leery about that coming back. And I have kind of big hands, so I like things to be a little bigger when I'm grabbing them. So I worry less about my grip, and I get I'm more focused on the actual lifting. So that works for me. And I suppose if they made the grips on these things too big, it would just be, a lot of people wouldn't like it at all. Whereas if you like a bigger grip, obviously just wrapping something around it. I know they sell grips for these things. So this is a tire. My girlfriend got this for me. There was guys who sell these things. This is a used tire off a piece of heavy equipment. You manhandling this thing, flipping this thing over, or pounding on it with a hammer is a great exercise. Of course, this is kind of outdoor. I don't really have room for this in my garage. I wish I did, because I'd like to get it clean and keep it clean, because flipping this dirty thing over and over again, is pretty much going to trash your clothes. So anyways, but this is a good exercise anybody can do. Well, not anybody, but you could buy a tire in just about any size. This one's about 4 feet across. It's for you Europeans. That's a little over a meter. So here's a fistful of jump ropes. I still have not mastered jumping rope. I might have to hire Vinny Tortorich or Adam Carolla or somebody to teach me how to jump rope, because I've been trying since I was a little kid. As you can see, I've got quite a few jump ropes. It doesn't really matter which one I have. I still lack the coordination to make it more. I think my record in recent years is only like 20 revolutions before I smash myself in the shin. So anyways, one of these days, like I said, when I get the feet working again, but a lot of people, jumping rope is easy. You jump rope for 15, 20 minutes a day. That'll keep you fit. That's what the experts say anyway. So I believe it. Jumping rope uses a lot of muscles. Obviously you're pumping a lot of blood. And in old age, your lower extremities being strong is probably the most important thing, because if you can keep walking around and you're steady on your feet and you don't fall down and break a hip, you probably live longer. Arm strength probably isn't quite as important. So if you're going to focus on something, in fact, I think, gosh, I should have looked it up, but somebody mentioned this study in one of the podcasts, and they were saying that, I think it was gymnasts, all they had to do was jump up and down like 6 times a day or something like that, and they kept the bones much more dense. So that's just one of the things. Both, I believe, muscles tugging on the bones, that strain causes bones to be denser, which of course is important as you get older, but also the impact, the weight helps strengthen the bones and the joints, provided you eat well. So, and everybody who knows somebody who's older, mobility is an issue. Falling down, breaking a hip is an issue. Joint pain, feet, ankles, knees, hips, lower back. If you could jump rope and keep jumping rope, you probably keep all that stuff rock solid. So, jump rope started about $5. I'm sure a lot of clever people could improvise. If you need to borrow one, I've got extras. This is a bumper plate. I bought this at Mike's too. I bought these nice clamps too. I hate the spring clamps because when I get tired, I can never get those bastards off. So these are little toggle clamp type plates, and this is a bumper plate. This is a crumb bumper, they actually call it. This is actually like a plastic material, and it's tougher than the cast iron. So if you drop it on the floor, which is gonna happen sometimes, they tend not to chip, or they tend not to crack in half or anything dramatic. As you can see on the floor here, I've got some better shots, but this is a horse mat or a stall mat. You know, I live where I live, the next town over, everybody has a horse. So you can pull in and you could buy one of these mats for under $45. I think they're like $43 right now. And they're very tough, but they're very, very hard to move. They're so heavy that they're hard to hold on to. And you can't roll them up too tight because you could possibly crack it. But it's, aside from the fact that it's soft and pliable, and I really like standing on it. It feels great. It's tough enough for horses to stand on year after year, but if you taco it, you could get a break in it. So, anyways, when they're brand new, there's a lot of little black pebbles that flake off, so they can be a little mess. But they're less expensive typically than the gym mat floor name brand stuff. They're tougher than those like foam squares that puzzle piece together. So if you're going to do a little garage gym and you got a concrete floor or something you don't want to damage, these are pretty awesome. They're hard to beat. Here you see, here's some other kettlebell. I think this is a Diamond brand. You can kind of see how the handle's bigger on it. I like that. I think I got this from Mike at Mike's Discount Fitness. God, I feel bad. I probably have an email for Mike open. Here's I used 50-pound. That's it. Actually a really nice shape. I mean, it's got a few dings in it, but you know, that's one of the nice things about you buying used equipment. It's already got some scratches on it. You don't really care. So there's a hammer. Here's another kettlebell. It's a little bigger. Here's a nice blurry shot of the messy garage. This right here standing up is a 20-pound hammer. This 20-pound hammer is kind of my nemesis. It takes every fiber in my body to control that thing. I looked around. I had a hammer. I think there's a picture of I had a small sledgehammer and I broke the head off of it one night, and I didn't know where the head went. So it was kind of freaky. And then I kind of love hammers anyway. So I went out hammer searching, and I found this in a little hardware store near work. And it's the biggest one I saw. And so it's definitely the most challenging one I have. And I wrapped the handle with an old belt I didn't like, and then I put tape over it so it doesn't slip out of my hands. And I hit the tire with it. That's what I do. You can see there's another hammer here. This is like a 12-pounder, and that tan thing right there is the head of like an 8-pounder that I broke off. There's a bowl of chalk. Chalk's a good thing for keeping your grip. You can see sorry the picture's blurry. I didn't realize I should have checked it. But I put some tape on that bar. Standard bar is 45 pounds. And then those crumb bumper plates that are on there are 45. So I like to do overhead presses with those. That's kind of one of my staple movements. You just pick the bar up and press it over your head. So you go on like this, you know. I don't know. It's one of my favorite things to do. I'm sure you'll find your favorites too. This is a rope. You know, I've probably seen people do this on TV. So basically you anchor that rope down at one end, and then you just wave that rope. These big, like 2-inch thick ropes, they wear out your arms really fast. Not as fast as a 20-pound sledgehammer or a 12-pound sledgehammer, perhaps, but still pretty fast. So that's just some ideas for people who want to have a home gym. This is a curl bar I picked up used, a couple of 35-pound plates. You know, just sitting in the garage next to tools on the horse mat. You know, let's go out there. I was trying to take a picture of the close-up. This is what the mat looks like close-up. So I don't know. I really like the horse mats. I don't know anybody else would use anything else, to be honest with you, because they're great to walk on. I walk on them barefoot all the time. I typically lift barefoot, or I'm wearing those 5 fingers. So that's how thick it is, about 3/4 of an inch thick. So if you're a smaller person, you're not real strong, you might have to have somebody move them for you or help you move them, but I love them. Oh, here's a bowl of chalk. It's an old salad bowl with some chalk in it. In fact, I got a bag of chalk right here. I keep this in my gym bag. I try not to make a mess at the gym because the little gym I'm at, it's all neat and tidy, and I like it that way. But it doesn't hurt to use some chalk. Sometimes I use gloves. Sometimes I use bare hands. Sometimes I use chalk. Oh, that's the broken. This is the one that broke off. So yeah, if you leave your hammer outside or you get a used hammer for somebody you don't know, be careful because the handle can break off and you can send this, I think this is an 8-pounder. You can send it flying into the neighbor's yard. Fortunately, that's not what happened to me, but it was close because all of a sudden it was just gone. This is a 12-pound hammer. I know, so it got lots of tape on it. So there you go. There's just kind of a close-up of the 20-pound hammer and one of the kettlebells. I think that's a 15-kilogram diamond. Like I said, for whatever reason, these diamond brands, I don't have a huge experience with kettlebells, but the handles on them are better for people with bigger hands for sure. It's actually not quite as fat as that other one I have, but there's more space. There's more space in here. So if you're using both hands for, doing swings or something, it's much easier to hold on to. This is the pull-up bar. Notice the fancy installation with some lumber there bolted to my wall. Yeah, I know not everybody wants that in their house. This is kind of an area of the house where nobody's going to see it anyways. So anyways, I think I ordered this pull-up bar online, and I was hell-bent on doing pull-ups. I'm still working on them. I'm still not very good at it. I started out with doing negative pull-ups. Well, I still do negative pull-ups for a lot of the time, where you basically you step on something and gets you up there all the way, and then you lower yourself down slowly. So this bar, it came with hardware. It's actually designed to be bolted to like a masonry wall, a concrete wall, brick wall, or something like that. I obviously live in a house that's built out of 2x4s, basically stick construction with drywall and everything. So I went and got this, I think it's a 2x8, cut it into two pieces, bolted it into the studs, and then bolted the chin-up bar to it. So, if you know how to do stuff like that, you're good. Otherwise, you might have to have somebody else do it, or maybe you have to find a chin-up bar at the park or something if you don't belong to a gym. Since I'm basically still working up to, I'm somewhere between cutting enough fat and keep building up enough strength to be able to do regular pull-ups, so I can barely, I can't quite get all the way up yet. So, but I'm still working at it. So that's something you might want to try. It's pretty basic. You can see here, I got some, these are like rubber, what do you call it? Bands, resistance bands. These aren't quite big enough. They're only like half-inch wide or something like that. A little more help, I probably could do quite a few more pull-ups, but it's all a matter of just getting in there and either doing the negative pull-ups or using a band like that to kind of help you lift yourself. You can put your foot in it or something and give yourself a little boost. It's just another shot of the same thing here. Here's the bands. I got them just carabiner to these rings. Also, one of the nice things about this particular chin-up bar, it's got more than one position for your hands. It's got these rings so you can clip on stuff like these bands. And this is a chin-up bar that kind of comes in the doorway. So this one, I could do underhand in this, but doorway is not really wide enough for me to do an overhand. That's why I got the one that's mounted above it. So to get started, use something like this step ladder right here that you can stand on that, and then you can get up high, and you can hold on to these handles, whichever ones you want to work on. You could alternate back and forth, and you get up there high enough, and then you can lower yourself down slowly, and you just keep doing that, and eventually you'll get strong enough that you can do a pull-up. So pull-up's kind of a basic sort of calisthenic like exercise that everybody could probably benefit from. So anyways, there's some exercise ideas for people out there. I think the biggest trick is not to get hurt. ease into it, figure out what you enjoy doing, figure out what your body's up to, and then, do it. And then of course, a lot of people get going and then they want to do something, um, like they want to get into a sport, or maybe they want to get into bodybuilding, or maybe they want to get into strength training and actually compete. Maybe they want to go play soccer or something. But I think if you start slow, start by walking the dog or yourself. I don't know. And then maybe you want to walk around the mall, something like that, or uh, go do something like that. And then when you feel better, maybe you start jogging, maybe you join a gym. I know I took a lot of time off from the gym for a number of reasons, mostly because I had such terrible joint pain. I thought I was just destroying my joints lifting weight. Now I'm probably close to lifting more now than I did before. So after like almost a 10-year break, I don't remember exactly when, but maybe 8-year break or something like that. It's coming back really quickly. So, and I like lifting weights. I just always like dumbbells and barbells. I like them more than the machines, but I do use the machine sometimes, especially now I belong to a small gym. There's not quite as much equipment. I know like I can max out the leg press machine. I think the most I can get on there is 6, so 12 plates. Sometimes I can balance 2 more plates on there, but a lot of times I fall and then they get jammed. So, but I have a lot of leg strength, partly because I still leg press a lot and partly because I weigh a lot. But as you lose weight, your body is gonna change composition to some degree because you don't need as much connective tissue to balance a person who weighs 60 pounds less or 100 pounds less or whatever. But you can stimulate other muscles and strengthen other joints as you go along. So once you get the diet right, then you can cut the body fat and you can increase the muscle. And if you can do that, you're probably going to live longer and be healthier. Yeah, I think I was listening to a discussion. I think it was a podcast with Ted Nyman and Paul Saladino, and they were talking about all the different dietary solutions, pharmaceuticals, and supplements, and diets and stuff like that. And really, when it comes to improving health markers, getting the body fat down to a healthy amount is probably um, the most powerful way to control things. Everything from like glucose to probably liver function and everything else. So, as I want people to feel good and be healthier and have a higher quality of life. I don't think living your life staring at the scale is necessarily the best way to go, but putting on muscle and getting body fat down to a healthy level is probably should be most people's goal. And once you start getting the diet right, and sometimes your diet's gonna change. Some people flourish on carnivore, and some people get everything they need from keto. And you know, a keto diet, there's kind of a rule of thumb for what ratios of your macronutrients you should eat, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those exact ratios are right for everybody, and they're not necessarily right for your activity level either. So be willing to adjust those things, and as long as you feel good, and as long as you're healthy, it's okay. Of course, having the scale there, you don't want to start putting on the body fat. And I'm going to do a video about scales because it took me a long time to find ones that were reliable. And now I actually use 3 scales, and they seldom agree, but they all have advantages. I got rid of when I first started this, I don't even sure how much I weighed because the scale was so unreliable and the readings are everywhere. I actually had 2 scales back then, and they were both, well, one of them was, you frequently just said out of limit. So There you go. Didn't do me much good. But I went through a bunch of different scales, got rid of some scales. I've gotten scales that were clearly they'd swing by 100 pounds in a day. You're like, this makes no sense. So, anyways, as much as I don't think that looking at a scale every day is always a good thing. It can be self-defeating. It can also be a really useful tool. So, and it doesn't hurt to keep an eye on things. But if your diet and exercise isn't helping you, particularly your diet, you really shouldn't have to. I don't believe you should have to exercise your way out of being overweight. I think that you got to get the diet right first, because once the diet's right, then it's gonna be easier to exercise. And if you exercise too much, you always run the risk of getting an injury. So if you hurt your foot, your ankle, your knee, your hip, your back, your neck, something like that, then you're just going to have a big setback. But if you can really get the diet dialed in, I know I've had to work at it a lot. I had great gains, and then I had to try something else. And then eventually I still had the psoriasis, so then I had to try something else. And now I've been cutting body fat has been my focus. So that, and maintaining muscle, if not adding some on. So, which is could be kind of a tough line to kind of the knife edge there, where you're still building muscle and you're still taking off weight at a good pace. So, anyways, I look forward to people's comments. I look forward to any support I can get. And I look forward to people watching the videos most of all. And people have been very kind with the comments lately. Have been new subscribers have been trickling in. And so anyways, I appreciate all that. Please share the videos with people who might find them helpful. And let me know if you have any questions. Let me know how I can make the videos better. And so I hope everybody out there feels better.